What's up, guys? How are you doing? Today, we're not here to give some dating advice. We're not here to talk about what girls do in Dubai. We're here to talk about transgender athletes. Yes, I know it's a completely different subject from the previous ones, but I had to drop a video this week and you can learn something from it. So, we all winning something. And today's subject is about the FINA banning transgender athletes from their competitions. And for those who don't know, the FINA is the International Swimming Federation. The reason they banned transgender athletes from women's competition is because they think transgender athletes have an unfair advantage over their opponents. And that's what we're going to discuss. I'll read a text from an article that I'll put the link in the bio, and I'll just put the paragraph on the screen so you can read it. World Swimming Governing Body has effectively banned transgender women from competing in women's event, starting Monday. FINA members widely adopted a new gender inclusion policy on Sunday that only permits women who transition before age 12 to compete in women's event. The organization also proposed an open competition category. Okay, so you may have many questions or not at all, and your first question is why. In March, a transgender athlete, a man that transitioned to a woman, won the NCAA, so it's a university competition in the US. For those who don't know, but when a man transitions into a woman, the man will have an advantage when it comes to sport against his new opponents, and that's why they decided to take this measure, because they thought it was unfair. Basically, men have higher testosterone levels, they have sturdier bones, they have a larger heart and larger lungs. Men do have the upper hand in sport compared to women. In hands with Superman. I know. Even if a man transitions into a woman, after puberty, you'll still retain your biological body. You might think this is unfair from the FINA, that it's not an inclusive measure. And if you just take it from that point of view, you're right, it's not inclusive at all. It's discrimination. They put like an entire group apart. That's true. But I'll give you some points that will make you understand why it is a necessary measure, especially in sport. Before diving into the subject, I just want to clarify one point, and it's the restriction age. Because you might think to put so much pressure on a 12 years old is pretty extreme, and that's true, because when I was 12, the only thing I thought about was how I was going to lie to my mom on why my report card never came. We don't all have the same problem. When men transition into women before the age of 12, after puberty, biologically they're still a male. Due to that, they'll still keep the advantages that they gain from puberty. There are a lot of differences between boys and girls physically, so that's why they chose this age. And now it's time for the first point. So it's true that some athletes might have advantages on others depending on the sport. For example, basketball, a center is way taller than a point guard, so it's easier to grab rebounds and to dunk. In team sports, don't expect the same return or performance from all of your athletes, because they all have positions that need to be fulfilled by a certain profile. But now we're talking about solo sports, swimming. If someone has an advantage over the others, that person might dominate the sport. And not here to downplay Thomas, who won the NCAA, but imagine I want to start boxing. There's no more weight categories in boxing. I'm about to have my first match. I'm a skilled fighter, I got a good jab, and I'm 65 kilos. I know I'm a model, that's not the subject, but my first opponent is Mike Tyson. And let's say that dude is 120 kilos, okay? So we fight and everything, and basically how it went is that my funerals will be held next week. No matter how skilled you are, sometimes natural advantages can overcome these skills and might be impossible to reduce the gap. And that's the problem that they face when men transition into women. They just dominate the women's scenery. The other point that people tend to forget is that in sport, it's not only about the love of sport, it's also about the money in sport. No matter the sport, it's still a business. And businesses need to be profitable, which means they need to make money. How? By selling their goods or services. I know y'all been to school, but just a little reminder. Sport is an entertainment. And how are you going to be entertained if you already know who's going to win, who's going to dominate for the next 10 years? It's like wanting to watch a movie, but being spoiled online or wherever. You won't have the desire to watch that movie. Basically, sport is the same thing. If you already know, if you know the narrative for like the next few years, you won't have the same desire to watch it. You watch sport to entertain yourself, to see like the underdogs winning the championship or whatever, or just having a good season.
Or even just to see the projected best teams fail miserably. That's what you're looking for the unexpected.
How can you have this feeling? How can you find the unexpected in a sport when you already know who's going to win? So people must also understand that in sport, federations are also businesses. They need to be profitable, and you can't be profitable this way. That's also why they decided to create another category and ban transgender athletes from women's category. If you watch it from a broader perspective, you understand that it does make sense. And also it kills like the desire to train in this sport, because you already know who's gonna win, that someone is gonna dominate you for the next few years. Why would you train? Because you know the gap is so large that you have literally like next to no chance just to catch up. Why would you have the desire or even passion for that sport except if it's for money?
What makes you envy to thrive in a sport is the possibility, at least from our point of view, is the possibility of reaching the apex of that sport, to become the GOAT. But if there's no balance, if you have no chance to become the GOAT, how can you still want to thrive into that sport?
It's true that it's not inclusive, but it's fair if you see from a sport and business point of view. So that's why before judging and thinking that it's unfair, just take the time to see it on a broader scale, just to understand the ecosystem behind it. That's why I personally think it's a good idea to have two different categories, one for transgender athletes, one for non-transgender athletes, and also have an open category. At least you give a chance for non and transgender athletes to compete against each other in the different categories, to not kill one category. It's like in the 70s and 80s, Eastern women used to take testosterone to basically increase their capacities, and it did work. They've dominated the Olympics, international games, anything. And that's why they need to restrain it. Even if you think that there are techniques to reduce the testosterone level, like a hormone therapy, it's not that efficient. It's, for now at least, it's probably the best thing to separate them into different categories and still have an open category for everyone. That's my point. Let me know what you think. I know this video was kind of short, but it's probably because I'm cooking something for you that you'll find out soon. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you think, and see you soon, guys.